People have been asking me for quite a long time how I learn new languages. The answer is, I want to be clear at first. I learn languages, and by learning, I mean I do start. However, I haven't learned a single language completely. So I know languages partial except one. Except one language that I completed. None of them. I started and I ended. Yes, that's the truth. This is like a disclaimer, so you know I'm not claiming I'm a language expert or someone. Just me on how I do it, even if it's just for a couple of time, for passion, for fun. And I'm gonna start with the language that I've progressed the most. I'll show it live on this video, my methodology of learning new languages. Starting with French. So you see, I always keep notebooks all the time. No matter what language I learn, this is something I've realized in a hard way. So the first language I learned was outside of my, native language. The first language I learned was Bangla, a language used only in some parts of India and Bangladesh. That's the first language I learned outside of my native language, which is English. And the third, so I learned Bangla like from an educational system, so that wasn't tough after all, because I've lived in some parts of Bangladesh as well. However, I learned Hindi in the most unconventional way. And I wouldn't call it a methodology even, because for Hindi, what I did was I watched a lot of cartoons, movies. It took me 3 years, and I eventually broke the code and got into Hindi. I can understand, I can speak. However, I can't write. Although I recognize some alphabets, but mostly I can't read, just speaking and listening part. So that wasn't a formal language either. Therefore, I moved to another language. For a long time, I didn't study any other languages. And then in 2021, I started learning Russian because I was interested in seeing how the West always keeps Russia a common enemy. If you've read 1984 by George Orwell, you know the Big Brother? They always kept a common enemy just to keep the masses distracted. So I wanted to see, I've seen how the West sanctions Russia. I wanted to know why. Why is it that the Russian media cannot reach the Western media or the Western people? Why do the West suppresses Russia? I wanted to know what's secret about Russia. And it's not something like a country that is unpopular. Russia is considered one of the strongest and powerful country. So I started learning Russian alphabets. Now here's the thing. First of all, I need to tell you, there is no secret for me. What I do, the way I learn new languages, it's all available online, public information. However, since a lot of people requested me and asks me a lot on how I learn new languages, I'm making this video. This is for them. So first of all, for Russian, I did some research. I saw YouTube, but I didn't found it a platform to learn languages. Yes, you can. I'm not quite sure if you can learn a new language only by watching YouTube. So I moved on to the best option I had, Duolingo. And I started learning Russian seriously. Every day, 2 hours. It took me 60 hours and a full month just to learn the Russian alphabets. Yes, that's how difficult the alphabet lessons were back then. I'm not quite sure if Duolingo has updated their course, but that was how it was done. So I can write Russian alphabets. I can read. I know some very common basic words, but that's it. You see, after learning for a month and investing 60 hours and seeing that I just completed learning alphabets, so now I have to learn the language as well. And I saw a big tree, language tree. I mean the paths. And I was like, hold on. If learning the alphabet took me 60 hours, I don't know how long it's gonna take to learn the whole language. So I quit. I was like, nah, I'm done. I was fully burned up. But it was the first journey on how I started learning new languages. After I stopped learning Russian, it didn't took me long enough to become interested in German, especially because of how rich history they have. By rich, if you know what I mean. You know. If you know, you know. They have some history. The Germans. World wars. Nazi occupations. You get the point. Hitler, whether he's alive in Argentina or is he dead? Was he a member of the Illuminati? A lot of questions to think of when you think about German language in a different way, not just for learning to know the people, but to know the history. Eventually I started thinking, what is history after all? Is it written? Because I can see history is written by the winners, not the losers. And what determines who wins and who loses, who writes the history? It is him or her. Him mostly. It is him who destroys other empires just to write their own history. So you don't get the glimpse of what the other viewpoint was, because when the victor claims victory, he makes sure to delete, to burn down everything of his enemies. Because to deprive people of their identity, their history, is to make people confused and powerless. If you don't know your history, You don't even know where you came from. Well, in today's world, you might say that doesn't matter. But again, I won't explain anything. If you know what I'm talking about, you know exactly. So I was interested to know the different part, the German point of view, the Nazi Germans' point of view on those world wars and everything. I know they did terrible things, I'm acknowledging it. However, I know that not everything is written, or not everything is available to the English speakers. There must be something that is just in German language. And if you want to know, you have to learn German. You get the point. That fueled me up. I got seriously interested. I had a teacher was and I inspired him. Not, I shouldn't take credit. I would say he was also interested on the German history. So I started learning first. So he asked me, "How are you learning this?" I said, "Well, the old way." What's the old way? Duolingo. The green owl. So we both started learning German. It was fun, it was amazing. However, the balance was not quite right, because you see, when you're partnering up with someone in the sake of the same interest, it is a must to ensure both of your interests are equally the same. If it's not, think about it. This is the measure, and one side has like higher and the other is lower. What happens? It breaks down the side that is lower. Always make sure if you're learning a new language, your partner is equally interested as you. If it's not, well, you gotta find a new partner. But the moment you realize that he's not the one, you better tell him, hey, listen, you better keep your words, your commitments to learning the way we talked about earlier, or we just gonna go apart. We are gonna part our ways, you know? Anyway, but also, most importantly, the thing is, he was interested and I wasn't, not at all. Again, I saw the repeated pattern on my journey. That is, abandoning a project I started. The project was project whatever. The project was learning German, which I stopped. Why? Because I realized Germany has so many variations on their grammar. Grammar is too complicated. Der, die, das. What? So, for an orange, too, you have genders. For a pizza, you have gender. Die Frau, der Mann. My goodness. And the language isn't. I had a thinking like about learning new languages, that languages are something that is short. It's not. Languages are a very big thing if you're starting academically, which Duolingo does, the way they teach you. So I abandoned, and my teacher was like, "Hey, we both started. Why did you quit?" I was like, "Nah, I'm not feeling interested anymore." And he continued to learn. He found a new group and he continued. Anyway, After I quit German, I was angry on me, myself, seeing how I start a new project only to abandon them just a couple of days or months at most later. I was like, this can't happen. What's the point of learning a new language? Just to learn some tidbits and move on? Does that even make sense? Then the time isn't well spent learning, the time is wasted. If it's like this, I can learn 40 languages. I can say I learned 40 languages, but the reality is I learned none, and the time wasted. So the lesson I learned right there was never to learn multiple languages. And if you do, make sure the commitment is extremely strong enough. You burn the roads, the boats, there is no going back. If you start a new language, you must finish learning it. And if you think you can't finish, don't learn. Don't waste your time doing that. It cost me my precious time to learn this, which I will tell you, it took me a long time, even after this, all the patterns I saw, this one. I did the same mistake again. I moved on to learning Arabic. Yes, the hardest language on earth. It didn't took me long enough to realize what Duolingo does on Arabic also is something I must admit that I don't feel good, because for all the languages, I don't know if there is any language that they don't teach properly at all, but for many languages I've seen, Arabic is the most underrated. They don't care about Arabic, they just kept it for, I don't know why, probably someone funded them, but just as a showpiece. The way they teach you, yes, you can learn exactly how to read, write, and speak. But the point is, they teach you only up to a baby level. I don't know if they've updated something, but back then when I was learning in 2024, it was just like this. And I soon got disappointed on Arabic. I was seriously learning. This time I was like, nah, I'm gonna finish it. I was so close to finishing, almost. That's when I realized, hold on, wait a second. So the people in the Gulf, say Saudi Arabia, they don't speak Arabic exactly like the people living in Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, Jordan, or some other parts. What? So what's the point of learning Arabic if I can't understand what the people of the other region is saying? Doesn't make sense? Not at all. I was like, no. Did I just wasted my time learning a language that doesn't make sense? Because so it's like what I learned the Arabic, it was called Fusha, or the standard Arabic. So it's like the official Arabic, but not the unofficial one. And then they have dialects. So what's spoken in Mecca or Medina is not spoken in, I'm not sure. However, the thing is, the dialects are different. I think there are 7 variations or something. And even it's entirely different based on regions. Hold on. I got so disappointed that I eventually quit learning Arabic. However, must I tell you, I've met people from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Arab Emirates, and UAE, and where? Yeah, people from those regions, from Jerusalem, from Palestine, Yeah, I spoke with them. They did understand me. They understood me. However, it was quite difficult for me to interpret what they are saying. So I can, like, the conversation always started when they knew I was learning Arabic, and I started asking them, like, هل أنت تتكلم بالعربية? Do you know Arabic? And see the difference. So what's the difference? It differed in many variations that I can't clearly express. It just felt different. I was totally disappointed on Arabic, except the fact that I met great people and spoke with them in Arabic. It was like a baby level or something, but it worked. I'm happy, at least, on the experience. That's the fun part. That's the first time I got the fun of learning new languages. You see, for Russian, I had no one to speak Russian to. I was also like, I didn't know about the language community on the internet, so I couldn't speak Russian with anyone except for some handful of people on a video game called Minecraft. They did understand me, but I couldn't understand them. Not at all. So, after that, after I stopped learning Arabic, I was totally angry, devastated on seeing how I learn languages and abandon them, which is exactly why I was like, so you are the quitter. You are the one who starts. You are the one who starts only to end it. Fair enough. I'm not starting a new one. No. This is the end of my language journey. It was fun, it was entertaining, but that's it. I'm not making hours and hours of commitments, if not months of commitments, only to quit something that I've worked seriously on, and I seriously wanted to end it, only to see that I was totally burned out for some reason, and I quit. So for a year, I didn't pick up any languages. In fact, none. Until I saw my European cousins coming from France, and they couldn't speak any other languages other than French. So I was on the phone, and my aunt was telling me they don't know any other languages, not even English. So I was like, hold on. So how do I communicate with them? And it was the first time they're coming, Is that how I'm gonna greet them? With a straight, happy face, and whatever they say, not understanding anything? I was like, no, this can't happen. But then there was the trauma. There was the experience of me starting something and abandoning it. I was like, nah, there is no way on earth I'm starting a new language. No, no French, no French, no French. Until I was like, come on, you serious? You're gonna come? They were very happy to see their cousins for the first time, only to be greeted by a flat face with smiles. Nah, this can't happen. So what I did was my ego took over me. And my ego told me, you gotta learn that language and don't abandon it this time. You see, there was a big reason for me to learn this as well. See, my cousins were the reasons. For French, that was a very big cause to speak French with them, to feel the language barrier, the communication gap. I didn't have any goal as big as such for Russian, German, Arabic, except the fact that I wanted to learn Arabic, to read the Quran and see what secret is written or what knowledge is written. I wanted to read it entirely in Arabic, which I did, and I could understand, I can understand just the segments, just some segments of words, and I can like imagine what the context might be. However, not the entire thing. For most of the part, it's like I don't understand anything. Anyway, so you see, there needs to be a very big why. Why are you learning a new language? Is it just for fun? I'm telling you, you're gonna quit. Is it just because you saw a series and you decided? Trust me, you will open Duolingo for a day and you will never come back again. There must be a big why. Imagine this, you are a refugee from some Arab countries in Europe, like let's say France or Germany. Let's say you are from Syria and you are in Germany or France, the refugee camp. Now, there is a big reason for you to learn their languages. Why? Because if you do that, you get a great opportunity. You can be a translator, you can get jobs in those countries, talk to people. You get the point. There's a big why, a big reason acting behind that. If it's just for fun, learning a new language, it's not gonna stay. If the plan is, I might visit a country and I wanna speak with the locals, that's a big goal. However, make sure that's not just a big goal. Make sure the goal must become true. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. So I started learning French seriously. I was like, this time, it has to happen. And it will happen. Because I will definitely start it and go until the end. I must finish this one. The ego took over me. I was like, yeah, go on. I did. And guess what? The story that I'm sharing, that's right there. Currently I'm scored 33 in French CEFR level. je peux parler un peu avec des jeunes et je comprends un peu parce que j'ai 3 cousins européens, natifs, nationalité de français qui habitaient à Paris. You get the point. So Duolingo. Those who say Duolingo doesn't work, check it. And still learning it, however, the speed is slower. Slower because I can see how big the language is. However, must I say, if you know English, French is gonna be very easy. C'est simple comme bonjour. Okay? You know what I said? Go on, learn French. It's fun. You'll see, c'est très similaire. It's very similar with English. They share common words a lot. Or you will love chocolate, le chocolat. You get the point. Anyway, that's the only language I haven't abandoned yet. Because while I was learning French and I saw Squid Game, I was desperate to learn Korean, which is why I started. And 저는 한국어를 공부해요. I don't know how to say I don't learn it right now. However, I can write, read, and understand Korean better than I understand Arabic, Russian. Yeah. The reason why I stopped learning Korean is because I couldn't find a why. Other than Squid Game, what's the point of learning Korean? I'm not moving to Korea. I mean, in the future, I don't see any future of me living in Korea. I don't see any reasons to learn Korean other than Squid Game. So it happened what has to happen. If you don't have a big why, your reason dies. You don't have a reason. So if you don't have a reason, no reason, I wanted to say your motivation dies. So if your motivation dies and you don't have a reason to learn a language seriously, you're not gonna do it. Nah, trust me. I'm saying it again and again because what I'm sharing in this video is not just about how I learn new languages. It's also about my experiences of learning new languages and what I've felt all the way, the experiences I gained, the insights. That's the point of this video. So I stopped learning Korean, and also there was another reason, and that is a lot of people were telling me, oh, you started a language only to quit it? Don't do it, just learn one, but learn it seriously. I was like, that's right. Instead of allocating my time for 2 languages at the same time with no similarities, like look, I can learn French and Spanish at the same time because they have similarities. I can learn German and Dutch at the same time. They have similarities. But Korean and French, it's like comparing the US with Uganda or Tanzania. Does that make sense? That's the thing. No disrespect, I'm just saying the difference is huge with no similarities. So I'm learning French currently, although the speed is slower. And recently I started learning Dutch. Rest assured, I'm not quitting French or Dutch because I was interested in Dutch only because a friend of mine was going abroad to Belgium, I think the northern Belgium, so he was learning Flemish. He has to learn Flemish Dutch, but I couldn't see anywhere teaching Flemish Dutch, so I told him to learn from Duolingo and AirLearn, another language app. So I use those two apps to learn new languages, and I've learned the hard way that don't waste your time watching YouTube videos. Watching is not learning. Remember that. Just because you watched passively, it works. For Hindi it worked. If you say it works, it took me 3 years and I can't even write. If you want to learn that way, for 3 years with extreme hardcore dedication, I seriously learned Hindi. That's the only language I seriously learned. If you want to learn it that way, go on. However, I'm telling you, there is also one more thing I realized, that is, when you learn a new language by pairing with similar languages, or let's say I finish French, then I move to Spanish or Italian, what happens is they're from the same language tree, right? That means it's a continuity. Similar to think about learning Hebrew, then moving on to Yiddish, and then moving on to Arabic. Or learning English, then moving on to Latin, so you get access to Romance language, or you learn German to get access to Germanic languages. Or think about learning Japanese, so you get some Asian language tree. You see, that's the thing. Learn a language, and if you finish one, make sure you learn the next language that is on the same language tree, that works easily for you than to learn a language from a different language tree. I believe that makes sense. If you don't understand what I'm saying, you can understand all of this the same way, but it's gonna cost you time. So I'm compressing all and everything in this video. Now, I see similarities in Dutch. Ik ben studying the Netherlands in town. So I'm starting the Netherlands, the Dutch language. However, must I say I see similarities of major Dutch with German, English, and French. So it's the fantasy language. It's the language. I was like, where was this language? That's the language I should have learned earlier. Again, that's when I realized some failures or some quitting are not just a waste after all. Some, not every, but some. Think about it. I quit German only to see and feel like a Germanic influence on Dutch. It's helpful to me, really. For French, it's like easy. And for Flemish Dutch, All I know is 80% of Flemish Dutch is basically French. And the Netherlands Dutch, it's a different one, but it still shares Germanic, English, and French influences. So yeah, I wanted to make a video from day one of how I start learning a new language. I will show you right now. By the way, I've talked about so many of them, so let me show you. This is the first one, French, Dutch. Always keep notes, write down everything that Duolingo and AirLearn teaches you. Language learning is the process of learning a new language. Treat it exactly the way you would treat learning something academically. Seriously, language learning is not just a fun thing, it's a serious thing. Think about how you learned a new language when you were a kid. Did you just remember everything in your memory, or did you write down and read? You get the point. So, this, I think this is Korean. This is Russian. So there are 4 right there. I think I didn't bring the Arabic one. And now, to sum it up, I'm gonna say it again. Mistake number 1, not to keep written documents, not to write a language. Something I've learned from German. I have this for all the languages except German. I didn't keep. I'm not quite sure if I did. However, I cannot find it. That's the point. Make sure if you're learning a new language, buy a notebook, write everything down. Keep it somewhere you will find anytime you need. You see, learning while writing works faster. That's basically what I do. Mistake number 2, wasting your time on trying to think like, okay, maybe if I watch YouTube, if I watch this video, if I watch that video, I'll learn fast. No. You would slow down your speed. And at the end, you would learn nothing. You would get confused, bored, and you would eventually quit. Yeah, that's the reality. That's the price I paid for with my time to learning. You see, I wasted a lot of time watching Russian videos, watching Arabic videos, only to learn nothing. Nothing I can say I learned. Don't waste your time. You are only allowed to watch content on that language once you've finished learning your course material. Go put on the hard work. Don't find the easy way. I will admit the simple, most brutal truth. There is no easier way to learn a new language. You heard that. You must do the heavy lifting. You must pay the price with your time, with your energy, with your cognitive load. Otherwise, if you can't commit to those resources, if you can't commit your time, your seriousness, your energy, don't waste it. Don't pretend to learn. Either you learn a new language or you don't. That's the fact. I'm saying it very simply. No one would tell you, no language gurus would tell you that. They gotta make money, right? Somehow, selling courses. but I'm telling you, that's the truth. You gotta do the heavy lifting. You see, this muscle also wasn't built just because you know, heavier. This was built through hard work. For things, amazing things you gain, you sacrifice something. Keep that in your mind. You know it, just forget it. You know everything I'm saying in this video, just forget it. There's nothing new. Your consciousness knows the answers. It just cannot remember them. Or sometimes it forgets or it pretends to forget. I'm showing you right now how I learned languages. Look. You see, this is French. Where is it? Oh, I can't move my camera. Damn. There you go. Is it working? I'm not quite sure. But you get the point. Ooh. Hours and hours of work. Not something you would do in just a couple of days. How long is it? Let me check. That's the price, baby, for French. This is Dutch. I'll show you how. I'm just, what is my level? Let me see. I think I'm scored 8. But look, already. I'm doing the hard work. There's no joke. And I started learning on July 24th, 2026. And I learned every single day. Except from August 2 was the last day I learned, and then I couldn't learn because my phone went dead. I already told you on the previous video about it. And on August 6th, I did on my laptop, and then my laptop also went dead. Wow. It gave me a near partial detox. And on August 12th, I did again. August 12th, 13, 14, what is the date today? You see, for most of the days, I remain consistent. I'm like a machine. And I'm learning this. The sad part, my friends dumped me. We both started learning. He should have the most important reason to learn. And yet, he's the one who went AWOL. He's not learning it. However, I'm not stopping because I've already found connections of French and Dutch, and since both languages look quite similar to me, I'm continuing. I will keep making videos on how I'm learning Dutch and French from now on, because I think like these are the topics. Language learning sounds fun to me. I do it for fun. I don't have a vision of becoming a polyglot or guru or something, someone who sells courses on languages. It's just something I find entertaining. The greatest feedback of learning a language is when you see people around you that appreciate, and the language barrier that breaks down once you learn a new language. It's so amazing to watch people smiling and happy to see you learning their languages. Of course, there are good people and bad people, and the evil people. However, keep an eye on the positive side, yeah? Life's a treat. Enjoy the treat. Make sure you enjoy it. Really, that's what matters. Anyway, now I'm gonna repeat again how I learn new languages. I note down everything, and by everything I mean everything. I use AirLearn and Duolingo to learn new languages. I keep writing everything in details. And things that I don't write down, I keep screenshots and I archive them so that I can see them later. Next, I don't waste my time watching TVs or shows on those languages anymore. I just use Duolingo and AirLearn. I keep notes. That's it. There's no secret, really. And I do the heavy lifting, even on learning languages. You gotta do it. If you don't learn a new language. You'd be disappointing yourself. You wanna learn it? Learn it seriously, otherwise don't learn it. This is gonna be the longest video. I never planned to make this video so longer, but I think if you watch this video till the end, you get the point. Again, I'm ending this video with the saying, for every greatness that comes with a price you pay personally. Bye.